avoid suffering. We exist in suffering. The Mankind 1.0 operating system is built upon suffering. You can't get away from it. The idea of avoiding suffering is a fallacy. You live with suffering in your own skin right now. It's unavoidable because it's inherent to the old system. And to remain in that system, there's nothing you can do to avoid it. It's not like you can go hide in your house because you can't hide from the suffering within you. What you're doing, what you're telling yourself is, I'm turning off my senses, I'm shutting down internally so that I can't look at or feel my own suffering. And we lie to ourselves. If I just stay comfortable, I'm good. As long as I just stay on this path, I won't suffer. We think, well, I'm just going to do A, B, and C and I won't suffer. We're not realizing that we're ignoring the suffering that is infused in our coding. Think about your anxious thoughts. Think about your fearful thoughts. Think about the lust, the hate, the pain of your own speech and your own thoughts. And you think, well, I'll just get a beach house somewhere on some island with $1 million and I'll ease all my suffering. Unfortunately, you take it with you. The problem is in what you think is comfortable. Because the reality is, what you think is comfortable is really suffering. It's written into your coding. It's in you. It's ingrained into you. It's the stain of the iniquity. You're encoded with suffering. It's inherent in the code. You can't remove it. That's why the Father is not trying to fix it. It's so full of holes, full of brokenness, that the code is not redeemable. All that can be done is to overwrite it with a new code. So what Christ did is he rebooted humanity into a new system which handles suffering in a new way and provides a way so that you can actually enter the rest, the shalom, and completeness. And that's what shalom, that's what the blood of Christ does. It overwrites the coding and allows us to enter into complete shalom where our anxious thoughts and our fears and all that stuff gets eradicated out of our system. And it's replaced with a system that has no anxiety, no toil, no turmoil, or trouble. So then what does suffering become in the new operating system of Mankind 2.0? When suffering is entered in as an input, then what is the output? How does the algorithm process it? It takes the suffering and then turns it into glory and joy. It transmutes it into a glorious reward. In Paul's letter to the Romans, he said, "And we know that God works all things together for the good of those who love him, who are called according to his purpose." This is the processing algorithm of this Kainos system. This system always returns increase. No matter what you put into it, it always produces benefit and blessing that moves us towards becoming more like the image of Yeshua, our brother, and ultimately like the Father. Suffering and pain, whether physical or emotional, always points us to relationship with someone or something. In that moment of, ow, this hurts, what do you do? What relationship do you reach for to solve the situation? The Father always has a solution, a resolution to your pain, and it's never, sucks to be you. No, he says, I have a plan for you to reveal glory of myself and a glory for you. I want to glorify you in this. I don't think people really believe this though. Believe that he really wants to glorify them. But those who push into the relationship, they discover glory is always the output. Now that glory may manifest differently based on what the Father wants to produce in us through the process, right? But again, he says he works all things for our good. Well, first we have to fix our faith in that belief. We have to establish a belief in that truth. And most people struggle with this very thing. Hey, I don't know. I struggle with what the good outcome is. I don't know if he really can make everything good for me. Or I don't know that what he says is good aligns with what I think is good. And this is because our definition of good is still based in the old system, the old programming, right? Which is why Paul says the renewing of the mind is required. It's like this. Most of the time, we unknowingly bring along old thinking, old programming into the new system. You bring your glitchy programs that you've installed onto the new operating system. And for a while, they seem to work. Some work really well. And so you think, well, I can get by with this, but they still have issues. And others are just totally glitchy, but you're still trying to make them work. And Father, in his grace and long suffering, says, all right, I'll work with you to find a better solution, but I'm telling you, we gotta weed these old mindsets out. We've got to renew your mind through relationship. We'll work through the process, and some of this is going to be painful because we've got to reprogram the way you process life according to how the new system works. One last thought on this. In the context of what this new system produces, Hebrews 4 says that the reason Israel couldn't enter into the rest was because they wouldn't take the words they heard from the Father and mix it with faith. That was the big issue for them. This was the key to their failure. They were supposed to combine the two and mix them to produce something greater, which is the fruit of increase, or the good work that the Father would produce in their lives, right? So you take the words, he says, I am this for you. I work all things for your good. And you say, well, okay, you say that, but I don't really believe you. But then you're not going to get what the mixture of the word and the faith will produce because you don't believe in the outcome, the greater thing, which is the fruit, which is the sign and wonder, which is the transformed life, right? And so Israel couldn't enter into the rest because they didn't mix their faith with the word. They heard, but they didn't really believe. This is, I think, what most people struggle with in suffering. They struggle with their relationship or their belief system. They've heard the word, but they don't have the faith, and they create a false product. Because in reality, there is no neutral response. We either mix the words we hear with belief or unbelief, but both produce fruit. And so the unbelieving judge everything out of that product, right? They produce different fruit by mixing their unbelief to the words of the Father. And by that production, that experience, they say, nope, that's not real. He's a liar. It's not true. And I have all this fruit to prove it. He says he's good, but look at my life. That's what the deceiver does. The accuser comes in and it plants the seeds of unbelief to produce a fruit of another kind. And it creates a program at the root level in one's belief system that says, no, he's a liar. He says he's good, but look at what he produces. Look at what he does. And the reality is, Father didn't produce that. Our belief produced that. And we use that as a straw man's argument against his goodness and tell him that his new system isn't better than the old one. But it is really we who created the environment for the unbelief to create this other kind of fruit. Now here's an interesting thing that Father showed me recently about the parable of the man who sold everything to buy a field which contained a hidden treasure. Father told me that the man in the parable was actually Christ, that he was actually the first man to sell everything, to put off, to disrobe all his divine glory and nature, to suffer under the old mankind 1.0 version, and then to give even that up in order to buy the field with the treasure. He believed 100% in the words of the Father, in the new version of mankind that Father wanted to release through him, that he went the full length to prove that it could be done and that it was worth doing. So he gave no man any excuse to say, well, you didn't suffer like I did. And he says, yes, I did. I sold everything to come by you. Everything. I gave up the whole lot just so that I could come purchase you because you are the treasure in the field I want. More than that, Yeshua showed us the pattern for how the new version, the Kainos system, operates, how it functions in this world, how it thrives in the midst of suffering and pain, converting it into a transformed life of greater glory, a glory that outshines every previous version and experience that mankind has ever had. And then he invites us into a relationship with him to experience his version of real life according to the programming of the new system, according to the Father's original intent of relationship with mankind. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen to this podcast. I really appreciate it. If you're listening for the first time and you want to continue to follow the podcast, head over to Substack, search for Segula Studios, and click the subscribe button. If you want to learn more about Segula Studios, check out my website at segulastudios.com. I'm also on Telegram, X, Discord, and YouTube. Until next time, continue to pursue the you he designed you to be.